Hi, my name is Diton Wade and welcome back to the channel. So, do you struggle when it comes to striking up conversations when you meet new people, or you just struggle at networking events? It leaves you feeling drained. It makes you feel like you have to kind of put up a performance, right? Um, it doesn't have to be that way. And this is what I'll be sharing with you in this video. I've learned that networking or communicating doesn't have to feel like a performance, right? You can actually genuinely connect with people. You can actually be yourself in these sorts of situations. And I'll be sharing some practical ways that you can begin to strike genuine conversations when you meet new people or when you attend that networking event. So the first thing is think quality over quantity. What does that mean? Think of it like learning skills. Imagine deciding one day that you're going to spend 5 minutes each on 5 different skills. At the end of the day, you'd realize that you haven't learned much, even though you have spent time on these 5 skills. Now, compare that to picking just 3 skills and deciding that you want to spend probably an hour or 30 minutes on these 3 skills. You will go deeper, you will gain real knowledge, and you will see better results. Right? Networking works the same way. Networking works the same way. A lot of people go into rooms thinking that they need to speak to as many people or probably everyone at the event and just collect business cards, collect as many business cards as possible. But all that gives you is a stack of names that you'd probably never call. And that's the truth, right? So the thing is, focus rather on 2 or 3 meaningful conversations in the whole event or the whole evening. Now, I'm not saying that you shouldn't speak to other people or at least say hi to them. Maybe just say hello and greet them and just hear a little bit about them. I'm saying instead that you should focus on building 2 or 3 quality relationships in that space. It could even be one, right? That depth allows you to remember them. But most importantly, it allows them to remember you. That's what I mean by think quality over quantity. Now, the second thing you can do is have a striking opening line or conversation starter. Let it be striking, like let it be that hook. So for many of us, the hardest part is walking up to someone and saying something that doesn't feel awkward or doesn't leave them wondering, who is this person? That's why having 1 or 2 striking openers in your pockets can make a huge difference. I'll give you a personal example. Some weeks ago, I had a chance to meet a broadcasting legend in Nigeria. She's the OG, the GOAT, right? When it comes to broadcasting in Nigeria. And this meeting would probably be the 3rd time I was meeting her at an event. But it was the first time I was actually walking up to her to say anything. She's someone that a lot of people look up to when it comes to speaking, communicating, broadcasting. She's a real icon. Now, I could have gone to her and said the usual line of, oh, I admire your work and I've seen you, I've watched you for so many years. It's an honor to meet you. But a lot of people probably tell her that. A lot of people probably tell her that. Nothing is wrong with that, but I mean, you have to make sure this conversation starter is striking. Instead, I went up to her and I said to her, I know your daughter. We worked together and immediately her eyes lit up. And that's the truth, actually. Don't use a lie as your striking hook. It has to be true. It has to be something relatable. It has to be something that is personal to the person. And for me, it so happened that I knew her daughter because we had worked together at a particular organization. So I used that as my conversation starter. And immediately her face lit up. That little connection changed the whole energy. It was like something bit extra. And suddenly she was the one who was carrying on the conversation and just sharing and telling me how myself and her daughter have dreadlocks and we both love cameras. You can see that. That was just my own, my own good conversation starter at that point in time. So you also can use something like this. Like if it's somebody that you've admired, if it's somebody that's and you're somebody that you really genuinely want to speak to and connect with, that's the power of a genuine opener. It doesn't have to be fancy. It just needs to be authentic, specific, and something that the other person can feel seen when they hear it. Now, the third thing I would say is go with a friend or someone you're comfortable with. Now, this one has always worked for me, right? Networking is so much easier when you don't go in alone. I'm someone who's quite reserved and, I just like to mind my business, say little and just be on my own, right? But the thing is, I've realized that when I go with my friends, all that reserved energy gets thrown out of the window. It's like because I'm so comfortable around that person, I tend to speak more than I would usually speak. I tend to relate like I'm with that person alone as opposed to having several other people around. And what that does is the people around who see me talking think that I'm outgoing and very jovial. But that's not the case. The thing is, I'm just there with a friend that I feel very, very comfortable with, you know, and that's just something that has worked for me. And it can also work for you. Try to go to these networking events with a friend that you're very comfortable with and somebody that just you've built such a connection that you can genuinely just flow and have conversations with even while at that event, right? But the thing is, some friends are a little more outgoing and they can help you open doors that you wouldn't walk through on your own. I have a particular friend that is very, very, like, I look at her, I'm like, why do you talk to people so freely? But that's just who she is. She's very outgoing. And there have been situations where she would literally hold on to my hand and just carry me and go into somewhere and introduce me to someone. And I'm just there like, okay, what am I supposed to say? But at the end of the day, because of that foundation has been built, I know how to follow up with conversation and all of that. So I gave you two instances now. There are friends that are very outgoing and that can just introduce you and bring you into conversations that you naturally would not want to jump into. But there are also those other friends that, by virtue of being around them, that outgoing part of you, outgoing personality about you that is hiding can find expression, right? So try to go to networking events with such friends, because they would help you get through those daunting conversations, you know. So now the final point I would say is be authentic. I feel like this is kind of the most important of all the points that I've mentioned right now, or the practical ways that I've mentioned to you right now. Most times, networking drains us because we are trying to be who we are not. What we're trying to portray is not coming from our very core. We're just putting up a facade and trying to get through the day, trying to get through the event, trying to get through the conversation. When you feel like you have to impress people, that's when you will drain yourself and that's when you'll be exhausted. So that's why I say that even in the midst of having that striking conversation starter of thinking quality over quantity or just going with a friend, that despite all of that, you still need to be your authentic self. People do not connect with performance. They connect with people, real, genuine people. That's why I say just be authentic. At the end of the day, when all is said and done, try to remain as authentic as you can be. The right people will be drawn to genuine authenticity. And guess what? You don't need everybody. You just need the right people. So let's wrap up. You're someone who struggles with starting conversations with new people. Focus on quality over quantity. Have a striking conversation starter that makes the person you're speaking to feel seen, feel heard. Third, go with a friend that you're comfortable with or you're comfortable around, or a friend who's generally just more outgoing than you are. And above all, number 4, be authentic. Be yourself. So thank you so much for watching this video, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.